Hey everybody, this is Kennedy Hawk from the Marvel Champions Monthly team. I am playing a Leadership Ant-Man deck here against Expert Ultron, teaming up with Steve from Beat the Games. We've been chatting a lot about this Ant-Man Super Mega Punch deck, and I wanted to figure out a way to make the deck consistent and still work in a way that doesn't rely on top decking a card, any sort of luck, just manipulating the cards in your deck. And this is what I came up with. Hope you guys enjoy it. Alright, so we're ready to go. Let's put our obligation in here. Gonna get everything set up. Including making our regular sized form Ant-Man just a little bit bigger. We're gonna flip this scheme. Let's make sure we've shuffled both decks and we create a drone right away. Okay, so we're gonna draw our opening hand of 6 cards. We got Ant-Man's helmet right away. That is amazing because that's a card we really need. So I'm really happy we got that. We don't actually have any double resources in our deck, so it doesn't make sense to discard anything looking for double resources. We're not going to do that. So what we will do is we're going to pay 1, 2, 3 for Ant-Man's helmet. We will flip to Tiny Form, drawing a card from the helmet. We get a Wonder Man. Yeah, and I think we'll play Wonder Man. Ant-Man can swing and kill this drone, which is good. And Wonder Man's just going to chill. So we are drawing 5 cards, and away we go. We've got 1 threat going on here. He is going to create a drone and come swinging at us. So for 3 plus something, we're going to defend. 3, 4, 5. So we take 1, 2, 3. We get 1. This guy also does 1 to us. Yep. We get 1 card here. We have to discard the top, 3 cards of our deck. And this thing gets 3 threat placed on it. That is a bummer. Alright, it is our go. We've got to get some action done here. We're going to pay 1, 2, 3 for Wasp. She comes into play. We're in Tiny Form, so we get to remove 2 threats. Let's remove it right there. Wonder Man will take this one down to 0 threat. We're going to flip to Giant Form. Just go out here because we're giant. We heal 2 from our helmet here. And I think we're just going to chill with that. So when we flip, we'll kill this drone, obviously, but that'll be it. Actually, you know, Wasp can hit for 2. Let's just make sure we hit this guy in case he gets that healing card that could potentially surge. Okay. Readying everybody up. We're drawing 3 cards only because we're in Giant Form, but we have a strength in numbers, which is really good. He's going to get 1 threat. He is, again, going to create a drone and swing at me for 3 plus something. I will, again, defend. So 3, 4, 5. So I take 2. We get 1 more from that little drone, and then an encounter card, which is we're going to create yet another drone, my favorite. All right. What are we going to do here? Let's switch to Tiny Form, removing a threat, and drawing a card from our helmet. Let's strength in numbers for 2. Perfect. Wow, that couldn't be better. Let's pay 1, 2 for Squirrel Girl, which will ping both of these drones dead and hit Ultron for 1. Always good. Let's resize to go to Giant Form and draw a card and heal 2 from helmet. Let's play the Triskelion. Wish I had 1 more resource to play the Quinjet, but I don't. I'm going to put the locations over here. Squirrel Girl will chill for now. We're going to save her for killing drones. Okay, so we're drawing 3 cards. He gets a threat. Classic thing happening here. He's going to go to 3 attack because he's pooping out a drone. Just 3 damage, so we've blocked all of it. Drone hits us for 1, and then we've got 1 card here, which is a Caught Off Guard. Oh, that is horrible. Yeah, I guess the Triskelion is going to go away, because we are not getting rid of our helmet that early. Alright, that was brutal. We are going to switch to Tiny Form, removing a threat, and drawing a card. Alright, Army of Ants. That's kind of what we needed here. We get an Army of Ants out. They'll take care of that drone for us. We can get a Quinjet out. We won't be able to play Swarm Tactics this turn, but I think that's okay. And we are just going to stay in this form and chill. So we're drawing 4 cards. He's going to get a threat. He is going to create that drone and swing at us for 3. We'll defend. So 3 plus spend the lightning or create another drone. We're definitely going to spend the lightning. So getting hit for 1, plus 1 from the drone. 1 encounter card, which is an assault. He's going to attack us again. So this time it's 4 plus something. We're just going to take it. 4 damage to face. And that's that. All right. Well, we need to do some healing action here. So how are we going to do that? We're probably going to change forms several times this turn. So first, let's kill a drone. Get everything back into our deck for when we're reshuffling. We are going to use this downtime to play Swarm Tactics, because I have Wasp and Ant-Man in play. That's going to change us to Giant form, healing us for 2, and readying me. At this point, I can play Resize, and I ping something for 1. I'll kill this other drone. Then I'll play Resize, flipping back to Tiny form, removing a threat, drawing a card from Ant-Man's helmet. And I still haven't used my actual basic flip yet, so I'm going to flip back to Giant form 1 more time, pinging for 1. Perfection. We will play this Endurance as well to gain 3 more hit points. We've got 3 attack here. We're going to swing at him for 3. We'll have Squirrel Girl swing for 1. Just start putting some damage out there on him. Also going to have Wasp swing for 2. If we can hit him into this second phase, that's going to help us with all this drone creation nonsense that's happening. All right. We are drawing 4 cards. There's not 4 cards left in our deck, so 2 and 2. We are dealt an encounter card. He gets a threat. He creates his classic drone. He's swinging for 3 plus something. 3 plus 1 is just 1. Drone hits for 1. Then we get 2 encounter cards this turn. So first, he gets a Goblin Glider. Second, this Goblin Glider surges, because that guy has no printed hit points. He's going to heal 2 per drone, so not too bad. Back up to 14. All right. Wowzers. What a turn. What a turn, huh? We do not have our Triskelion, so we can't get a 4th ally yet. So we need to do some card drawing shenanigans here. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to resize. So that sends us to this form. We remove a threat, and we draw a card from Ant-Man's helmet. It is not a Triskelion. That's a bummer. This Quinjet's got several tokens on it, but I'm just going to put 1 before I forget. Army of Ants will kill whatever that is. I think instead of playing Hawkeye, it looks like we're just going to play 2 copies of Resourceful. So we flipped forms from Resize, so we're going to go back to Giant form again, healing 2, and hitting him for 1. And that'll be that. Nobody's going to attack. We are drawing 4. He's going to get a threat. He's now swinging at us for 4 plus something because of this Goblin Glider. So 4, 5, and an additional boost. 6, 7, 8. Wow, we block 3. So we take 5 from 9 to 4, and then we take 1 from this drone. And then we get dealt an encounter card, which is going to make this drone attack me 1 more time. Not the end of the world. But not the best thing that has ever happened to us either. All right. What do we want to do here? Get a second time counter. We are going to change forms, removing a threat, drawing a card. We're going to change forms, sorry, with Swarm Tactics here, because that also readies us, which is good. Then we are going to play Downtime. We are going to hit him with this Army of Ants. We're going to flip to Alter Ego form finally. Healing for 1, and then we get to heal for 5 more from Downtime. Just getting back up to full health and getting a full set of cards here. So we've drawn 5 cards. That's the end of our turn. He gets a threat. He is going to scheme. It doesn't really matter what he's going to scheme for. So he's going to scheme for 2, 3, 4. It's going to send us into the next phase, creating a second drone. Both those drones will scheme, and then we get an encounter card, which is Pumpkin Bombs. All right. Okay, okay. Not so bad yet. Let's see what we can do. All right, so we finally got our Triskelion out here, and we get a third thing on Quinjet. We're probably not going to use that Quinjet at this point, but you never know. We're going to flip to Tiny Form, so that'll remove a threat. And we draw a card from Ant-Man's helmet, which is always good. We are going to use Pym Particles to play the Triskelions. We've got 2 locations out here now. We're in Tiny Form, so Pym Particles draws us a card. We are going to use Strength and Numbers to draw 3 cards. Excellent. We will play a second Army of Ants, so we can kill both of these cards right there. We're going to use a Giant Stomp to play a third Army of Ants, which will go for Ultron's face. We are going to use our Giant Strength to play Risk Gauntlets, and then we'll throw Honorary Avengers onto Wasp and Wasp, because that has the most thwarting potential. And I think that will be that. We could also thwart for 2, so let's just get this down to 0 while we can. Alright, so we are drawing 5 cards. He's going to get a threat. He is going to get 2 more threat, because we're not giving him any drones if we don't have to. So he's going to swing for 3, 4, plus a boost. We got to defend. So 1, 2, 3, 4 from the drone, 5, 6. So we're taking 4 right there, plus 1 from the drone. And these pumpkin bombs go off, which deal 2 indirect damage. So I'm going to put 1 of those on Wasp. She's got 5 health. So I'll actually put both of those on Wasp just to avoid damage on to Ant-Man. And he's going to attack us again. That is disgusting and gross, and I hate it. But there's nothing we can do about it. So he's going to spit out yet another drone. So now he's attacking for 5. Squirrel Girl's going to have to chump this one. So 5 damage to Squirrel Girl. That's unfortunate. She goes in our discard. We really didn't want that to happen, but worse things have happened in our life. Like getting all this stuff happening in one turn. All right, it's our turn. What are we going to do about this? We are going to Army of Ants, kill these 2 drones. Just get them back in our deck immediately. Let's... We're going to resize to flip to Giant Form, healing 2, and drawing a card from Resize. At this point, we could Risk Gauntlets, stun him. It seems really good, so I think we're going to do it. Just give us some breathing room here. We haven't actually flipped yet because we've only done Resize. So I'm going to flip back to Tiny Form, removing a threat, drawing a card. And I think it's time to get this Avengers Mansion, or this Queen Carrier down. So I'm going to pay 1, 2, 3 for a Queen Carrier. We can use that in future turns to fuel people. Alright, so readying everything up. We are drawing 5 cards. That's going to deck us out. So good thing he is stunned. 4 more cards. Alright, where are our allies now? They're all in our deck. He's going to get a threat. We're going to give him 2 more. He's stunned, so he won't attack us, but we have 2 encounter cards. So the first one is, each player puts the top card of their deck face down as a drone, then place 1 threat here per drone. So that's going to have 5 whopping threat on it, which is actually quite a lot. The next one, choose to spend 2 resources of any type, which we will definitely do, because we've spent that resource in Tiny Form, so we draw a card to replace it, or give the villain a face down boost card. We're definitely not going to do that. Alright, that was our go. We've got Army of Ants. Let's kill this drone right away. We haven't defended this round, thankfully. So that's cool. Let's use Inspired to play a Giant Strength, which is going to be really important later. We are going to resize to Giant Form, healing 2, and drawing a card, and getting +1 from Giant Strength. So I'm going to make a little counter over here. This is Ant-Man's stat buff right now for attack. So he's got +1 attack. We are going to play Stinger. And we changed sizes with Resize, so we can change size 1 more time. But first, we are going to strengthen numbers for 3. Really good, really good. Let's use this mansion to play a third Resourceful. Just getting cards out of our deck at this point. Or we could use that to stun him. Maybe we do that. Let's stun him while we are large again with our Risk Gauntlets. We should have pinged something when we flipped, but we forgot. Oh well. We're going to use our base flip to go back down to tiny form, drawing a card, and removing a threat. And we're going to keep both those in our hand, I think. We'll hit him for 1, 2, and we'll remove 2 threat from this side scheme. And that will be, actually, let's do the main scheme instead. Let's just keep the main scheme really low. And that'll be that. We're going to draw 3 cards and keep all this in our hands. Alright, so we've still got room for more allies, which is great. He's going to get a threat. We're going to give him 2 more. He's no longer stunned. Oops, and we get 1 card here, which is a healing card. It's going to heal him for double the villain's stage number, so that's going to be 4. And that's that. That was it. That was wimpy. I think I can get Mansion out this turn. Let's hit him with 3 Army of Ants. Let's thwart for 2. Do I want to get Mansion out this turn? At the cost of a Resourceful. I think I do. I'm going to pay 1, 2 for an Avenger's Tower. We'll use Tower along with Queen Carrier, along with Ant-Man and a Resourceful to play Avenger's Mansion, because this reduces the cost of the next... Oh, that's the next Avenger's Ally. Huh. That doesn't work. We'd have to use both Resourcefuls. Let's put this all back in our hands. Here's our 5 cards. Nope. Here's our 5 cards. Well, if that's the case, that's disgusting. Let's pay 2 for an Avenger's Tower. Let's use Avenger's Tower and Queen Carrier to play a Hawkeye. We can thwart and thwart. Pump, pump. And there might actually be 1 threat in there because I think I forgot about this acceleration token last turn. My bad. I think we're going to keep everything else we've got here. We haven't flipped yet, so I'm going to flip to Giant Form to heal 2 and deal 1 to him. And that will be that. Drawing 3 cards. Alright, so we're down to 16, 20 cards in our deck. We want to get to the magic number of like 12-ish. So it's taking a long time, but it's worth it, trust me. He's going to get 3 threats. We're not going to give him any allies. He gets a drone. He's swinging for 4 plus something. We're going to defend. 4, 5, 6, 7. So we get hit for 1, 2, 3, 4, plus 1 from the drone. He gets an encounter card, which is each drone attacks you, so 1 more. Pretty easy for us, I would say. All right, let's... We want to stun him before we leave this form. We don't have any fists. Oh, we do. Let's do this. We're going to heal 2 and stun him. That's really important. Then we'll flip to tiny form, removing a threat and drawing a card. Now we will move our deck over here because we're running out of room. We're going to pay 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 for... Oh, that reduces the cost. That's not going to work for Ant-Man, I don't think. Yeah, we'll just pay it this way. 1, 2, 3 for Ant-Man, so he's going to have 3 counters on him, which is going to be really good for helping us thwart things away. This is my discard pile over here. Let's not forget about that. Yeah, we're not going to be able to kill that drone, but I think that's okay. We're going to pop the main scheme for 2 with Ant-Man, putting his damage down here. So we have 5 allies out. Our ally limit is currently 4 plus 1 if everyone is an Avenger, which everyone is, and Stinger doesn't count. So we're at 4 out of 5, technically. We're going to ready... Oh, we have Army of Ants to kill this guy. That's what I should do. And then we'll Army of Ants the boss twice, because we may as well. Alright, readying everything up. Everything in the world. We're going to draw some real hot strength and numbers here soon. Soon, I promise. Not there. He gets a 1, 2, 1, 2 threat because we're not giving him any drones because drones are bad. He is going to not attack us, and then he gets 2 encounter cards. So the first one is that he will create a drone. Surprise, surprise. The second one is that he gets pumpkin bombs. Oh no. We're going to have to get those off of him because we don't want things like that on him when we have our combo set up. This is back down to 0, obviously. Okay. What are we going to do? We have Army of Ants to kill that guy, which is good. We have Army of Ants to ping him twice, which is also good. We are going to be able to swap back, so I'm not worried about doing my thwarting yet. I'm going to resize, which lets me flip forms, healing 2 and dealing 1 to him. Then I draw a card from resize. It's Mansion, which is really good. We need to get that Mansion out there. We've got 5 of our 6 allies out. I'm actually going to move my allies over onto this board where there's room for all 6 of them, and I'll move my deck back to the other side. Just so I know where all my allies are at, right? So let's Avengers Tower and Giant Stomp to play Squirrel Girl. She's going to ping him for 1. I kind of think we want to pop him here soon. It may have been ideal to do that before we played Squirrel Girl, but we did not, so that's our bad. Let's throw one of these onto Hank Pym here, our friend. We are going to... Do we want to pop him to the next phase? You know what? I think we do. So let's attack him for 4, because we have +1 from this giant strength. It's going to send him flying into the next form of Ultron, and we have to find Ultron's Imperative. So he has not actually decked out his deck yet, which is pretty good for us. But there's a crazy amount of things here out in the board, which we do not like. He's going to go back up to 27, and drones have a lot more health now, which I also don't like. So drones now have +1 attack and +1 hit point. All right, now we'll use our Quinn Carrier to play Swarm Tactics. So that's going to switch us to Tiny Form. That lets us remove a threat from here, which is good. Oh, and when this comes out, we create 2 drones. Let's not forget that, because that's part of the problem here. All right, so we removed 1 threat after our flipping. We also get to ready, which is really good. We are going to have Squirrel Girl thwart this one. Away. Bye-bye. Nice to see ya. We're going to draw a card from Helmet too, obviously, before we forget. And we'll play that card right away. Just getting more cards out of our deck. So we're down to 14, 15, 16. We're really, really close. Shouldn't have used those helmets, it's appearing. We can thwart for 2, or we can punch both of these guys away, which seems beneficial. So I think we're going to punch these 2 away. Oops, wrong thing. And I don't have any cards left with Hawkeye to do anything fancy there, so I'm just drawing 5. All right, we are really, really close to having exactly what we need here. So let's see if we can make it happen. So we're going to ready everybody up. There's a million counters on this thing at this point. We have no more allies in our deck, so we're obviously not going to be using it. He's going to get 1, 2, 3, 4 threat, because we're not going to let him spawn. Oh, yeah, we don't want him to spawn a drone. And then he's going to come swinging at us for 5. We are going to have to defend. So 5, 6. So we take 1, 2, 3, 4. Pumpkin Bombs goes off. We take 2 indirect. We can take both of that, and then we get dealt a card here. So our card is a guard minion. Not so bad for us. All right. Let's see what we can do here. We need to get a few more cards out of our deck. So first things first, we're going to play Team Training, giving everybody +1 HP, which is really important right now. And we did that in Tiny Form with Pym Particles, so we draw a card. Hive Mind. Now that is an interesting card that we might actually want to play right now, which is kind of crazy. So let's think about what we need to do here. We need to remove a lot of threat and flip down. That's what we need to do. So how much threat can we now remove? Wasp has 2 HP left, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's if I don't use any of them for strength and numbers. But I don't need 8 because I can get rid of 5 with just this. And all these army vants are up too. So let's go bump, bump, bump and just hit this guy for 3 right away. I think that makes sense. This guy does have +1 HP from Ultron's static ability. So what do we want to do here? What do we want to do here? Let's get through all of our actions first. Should we? Shall we? I think we're going to Hive Mind before we flip. So let's use a Moxie and a... we're going to resize first. So we'll flip to giant form, doing 2 and drawing a card. It's an inspired. That's a good card, but not a card we really needed. We're going to flip back to tiny form, or are we going to flip to... Or are we just going to get out of dodge? Let's just get out of dodge. So before we do that, is there anything we want to do? I think we can spend this Moxie to put an inspired onto Ant-Man. Just because he's got the most HPs left. We're going to flip down to Alter Ego form, healing 1. And here we are going to thwart for 3. Does Wasp? Oh yeah, the Wasp has 1 more life left because team training. So that's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Squirrel Girl can do 2 more, or 1 more. And he's going to be getting 3, 5 plus a boost. So I think we gotta do all 3. Just get it down to 0. We've got no room to spare on our allies anymore. We've got a big old strength in numbers set up for next turn, so I think that things should be pretty much rolling. All right, let's draw our... We're going to get rid of Hive Mind and draw 2 cards, so he's going to get Encounter Boost. And then we're going to draw 3 more. And we can get to 7, plus our strength in numbers will almost draw our entire deck. So I think we're going to be able to set up our combo here now. We're going to end the game. Y'all ready for this? Okay. Ready all our allies, because that's also an important part of our strategy here. He's going to get 3 threat. We're not going to give him any free drones. Actually, you know what? We can give him a free drone. I don't even care. It's less... No, we do care, because that could be a card that we really, really need. So we're going to give him 2 free threat. All right. He is going to scheme for 2. He's actually at 4, because it's acceleration. 2, 4. Ultron Drone's going to scheme for 1, and we've got 2 cards here. So first, Master Plan. He's going to put 4 more threat on that bad boy. And an Assault, which is going to surge into this thing. Oh, that's not a thing we want at all. Okay. Let's see what we can do. Do we need to heal? I think we can heal, so let's... No, we don't need to heal. I think we're going to end the game here, so let's just plan on doing that. We're going to switch to... Tiny or giant form? Tiny or giant form? Tiny or giant form? We're going to go with tiny form. So we remove a threat from the main scheme. We draw a card with Ant-Man's helmet. These are cards we don't want to play in our hand. We've got 7 cards left to get through, which is a lot of cards left in our deck. Let's just realize that reality here. Gotta be careful when we kill this drone, because he's gonna need a card from the top of our deck, which is terrifying. So we could strengthen the numbers for 6. That would leave 1 card left in our deck. So before we kill him, we would have to get more cards into our deck. Or we can decide what that card is going to be. So let's play it that way. Let's play Strength in Numbers for 6. So we're drawing 6 cards. So let's see here. We got Resize, and we got Swarm Tactics. So we don't care what that card at the top of our deck is, which is good. It's a Pym Particles. Because now we can off this guy with Army of Ants, just creating another drone. Although I guess we're going to have to get it out of our deck anyway because of... What's it called? We can't damage Ultron while there's drones out. So let's think about this a little bit. Yeah, I think we'll off this guy, which creates a drone, gives us an encounter card, puts strength in numbers on top of our deck. This encounter card is going to be important here very soon. We are at 0 bonus attack currently. We're going to hit this thing for 1. And we did a basic flip to go to tiny form. So we've got 3 flips right here. What we are going to do, and it's going to be strange, is we are going to overpay for resize to set up our combo here. So we are going to pay, or we could just moxie. Is that better to do? So we could resize, changing to giant form. In the middle of the card, we're going to respond with a moxie, so that gives us a +1 till the end of the round. Moxie goes to the discard pile. We have to finish resolving this card before it goes to the discard pile. So we draw this card, get dealt an encounter card. We gain 2 from Giant Strength. Let's not forget those. This card gets shuffled into our deck. This now becomes our discard pile. We also deal 1 damage to something after changing forms, so let's think about that. So I did Moxie first, but I think this card, yeah, rewinding. So I did Moxie after responding. I had to draw a card from the top of my deck to finish that resolution, but also I changed forms. So if I want to do this ping for 1 damage, now is when it has to happen. I am going to ping him for 1 right here. So that's going to kill this drone. So when I draw a card, both of those cards will be in my deck. They'll get shuffled, and I will draw 1. All right. So at this point, we know what all the cards in our deck are. Pym Particles, Resize. We need to keep track of those Resize and Pym Particles and Swarm Tactics. That's going to be essential for figuring out the rest of this puzzle that we're about to go through. So we've done our base flip already. So at this point, I would like to flip to tiny form. And I think I'm going to do that with a resize. So I'm going to flip to tiny form. I will remove a threat. I will not draw a card from helmet, because if I drew a card from helmet here and then drew a card from resize, I would have an empty deck and I'd have to deal myself infinite counter cards. This isn't a forced response, so I can choose to not trigger it. So I will then draw a card. This will become my deck. Resize will go to my discard pile. Good stuff so far, right? And now what do? We need to play Swarm Tactics. And we're going to do so with a pair of Pym Particles. So how do we do this? We put the event, if you read the how cards are played thing. Oh, and we just dealt ourselves a card will be flipped there because these cycled too. So how events are played, you place the event on the table, you pay the cost of the event with the Pym Particles. So after I spend this as a resource, I've now spent it as a resource, I draw a card, this shuffles, and I am dealt another encounter card. The encounter deck is actually empty at this point, so we're going to get an acceleration token out here. It's not going to matter, because we're just going to kill him this turn. But we're up to 4 encounter cards. We're just going to keep that stack here. We'll just keep track of what it is here at the end of the game. At this point, I have flipped forms, and I drew from the Pym Particles. I'm not going to draw from the Swarm Tactics, right? Because I am flipping to Giant Form. So I'm going to go to Giant Form. I'm going to heal 2. I'm going to gain 2 from Giant Strength. I've got these 2 right here, waiting in the wings. I get to ping him for 1, so we may as well ping him for 1. I'm going to make a third counter that's just like when we add up all of Ant-Man's base attacks. Because we played Swarm Tactics, we actually get to ready here. So if I attacked right now, I'd be swinging for 8. So that's what this counter will be. Just my basic attacks. I'm not even going to count the ones from all the times that I ping here. Because there's going to be an algorithm here, and we're going to flip back and forth many, 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 many times. Alright, so we've got 2 cards in our deck. We know what they are. It's Resize and Pym Particles, right? So if we use Resize right now, we're going to go to Tiny Form. We could trigger both the Helmet and the Resize draw to draw 2 cards. At this point, my deck is empty, so I immediately create a new card, deal myself an encounter card, and then this goes to my discard. So now we know we've got 2 readying cards right there, but we're ready. Well, if we would have been exhausted here. So I'm going to pretend I'm exhausting, and I'm going to attack this Phantom counter to show you how much damage could have been done. Alright, so I have resized to Tiny Form, so I get to remove a threat, right? Removing threat is really good. At this point, we've got one card left. We want to resize back to giant form. We're going to heal 2. We're going to gain 2 more from giant strength. We did not ready because we used resize, and we're going to draw a card. The encounter deck empties. We flip-flop here. We flip-flop here. All is great in the world. We're not ready yet, so we're going to pay 1 for a Swarm Tactics. Note, we're in hero form, or we're in giant form, so we don't get to draw from Pym Particles. We get to heal. We then flip and ready, and this would go here. We change to our other hero form, so we've done that. At that point, we can draw from Ant-Man's helmet and shuffle these cards. And then we place this one into our discard pile and ready our hero. So we could now thwart for 1, 2, 3 from that Moxie, but we're going to save all of it for attacking in this wonderful game here. So this is where things get tricky. There's 2 cards here. One of them is a size changer, one of them is not. But we need all the size changers. We need to guarantee whatever we draw is going to let us change sizes, because we don't have our mansion down here to like make up for any mistakes. So what we're going to do is something really cool in the rulebook. If you read Ant-Man's text, you can overpay for an ally. You can overpay for a card when you're playing for it. So I'm going to play Resize and overpay with Pym Particles. That lets me draw a card. I change forms, dealing 1 damage, gaining 2 more. And then I draw a card from Resize. I'm dealing myself an encounter card, flipping this face down, putting this over here, shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Again, I'm ready because of that Swarm Tactics I played previously, so I'm going to attack for another 9. So I'm up to 17 damage dealt this turn to this fictional counter. We can just dump all that on Ultron at the end. So what do we do next? Well, we've got to Resize again. There's 2 cards in our discard pile, so we're going to play Resize, trigger Helmet, trigger the draw card from Resize, which you have to do, drawing both cards. That's going to deal us an encounter card, putting Resize into our discard pile. When we go to tiny form, we'll remove a threat. I think we might get rid of all this threat in this round, which is kind of crazy. And actually, I'm going to start removing it from this one, just because we can. So, at this point, we are in tiny form. What do we want to do? We want to use Pym Particles to play Swarm Tactics. So we will draw a card, dealing ourselves an encounter card, shuffling our deck. So now we change forms to giant size. We heal for 2. We gain 2 of these. We will ready our hero, which is just fine and dandy. We do not draw a card. But there's 2 there, and we've got a Resize, so that's great. We're ready again, so let's swing for 14. So 17 up to 21 up to 31. Sounds great. He is dead at this point, but we can just keep going and going and going and going and going until there's no cards left in the encounter deck, right? So I'm going to Resize, draw 2 cards. This becomes that. I put a card here. Resize goes there. I go into tiny form. I remove a threat. The reason you want to hit this little one over here is you want to get this into the encounter discard pile, because basically you're going to be able to flip back and forth and back and forth and back and forth as many times as you want until there's no cards left in the encounter deck. If you ever have to deal yourself from a card from the encounter deck and there are none, then the game ends in a loss. So we don't want to do that, obviously. So we want to end it when there's 1 card left in the encounter deck and take like a giant swing at Ultron. So we are now in tiny form, right? So we want to get, well, this is Swarm Tactics. We know it's going to come back to our hand. So we will Resize, which is to change forms, dealing damage, gaining 2 more attack, because we're triggering these giant strengths every time we flip, which is kind of crazy. We draw a card from the end of Resize. This immediately becomes our new deck. We're dealt an encounter card, and this goes over here. We're not ready because we didn't do Swarm Tactics that time, but we are going to do Swarm Tactics this time. So we'll pay 1 to do Swarm Tactics. We're not going to draw with the Pym Particles because we're in alter ego form, and we can go up to, what is it, 12 plus 3, 15 health. So we're still gaining health from that. That's not too bad. So we're paying for the Swarm Tactics. That will change our form, letting us draw a card from Helmet. This now becomes our pile. We go here. We now ready our hero. This guy goes there, and we're going to remove another threat from here. Bingo bango. We're just going to like go on and on and on and Here's another instance where we have to pay really close attention. We want to draw both of these cards. We never want the chance to not have a readying card in our hand. So we only want to have 3 cards out here at any point in time, and we can't have all 3 of them being the readying cards. So we're going to overpay for resize. When we overpay, we draw a card because we're in tiny form. Then we change to giant form, dealing a damage, gaining 2, drawing a card, dealing ourselves an encounter card. Yep. We now have 15, 18 attack, so we can add 18 to this, which is going to be 39, 49. I'm sure I'm making a lot of like tiny little trigger mistakes here, but what you really have to be meticulous about is making sure you never have a state where there's no cards left in your deck and no cards left in your discard. Because if you do, you get stuck into this locked state where you just like puke a bunch of cards into your encounter card stack. So you can see we're at 13 encounter cards right now, and 15 bonus attack. 1 was from that Moxie. So it's usually about a 1-to-1 ratio. If you can get 20 cards from the encounter deck, you can get to plus 20 attack and then swing with a giant swing. If you've got a Swarm Tactics left, you can do like 1 more punch to swing twice. Pretty cool. You can obviously replace some of these things that are in my hand. Probably 1 Strength in Numbers and Morale Boost with some sort of readying mechanic. You could put Tenacities in there, whatever you want, to just give yourself more attacks when you get to that max level. Alright, so we're in giant form. I already swung and did that attack. There are 2 cards here. I'm going to resize, trigger my helmet to draw 1, change forms, removing a threat here. I am going to draw a card from resize, which is going to deal us an encounter card. Put this guy in the discard, bingo bango. Sugar in the gas tank. I think we missed one of those encounter cards there. I'm not sure. I can't remember. This works out to about 1-to-1. Alright, so what are we going to do? We're going to shuffle our 1 card here. We want to get out of this form, so let's use Pym Particles to play Swarm Tactics. Pym Particles is going to go here. We're going to draw a card. When we draw that card, we are dealt an encounter card. This flips and becomes our new deck. We now change forms and ready. Swarm Tactics goes down here. We do not draw a card from flipping right there, but we do gain our +2 attack and our health. So we can now swing for 20 more damage. We're up to 69 in 1 turn. Pretty bonkers. It's our go again. So why not? What the heck? Let's do it. Let's resize. We're going to change forms. Not going to ready. We're just going to change forms. We're going to draw 2 cards. 1 from Helmet, 1 from Resize. This automatically becomes our deck. That goes there. That goes there. I don't know why I changed to Alter Ego. I wanted to change to Tiny. So I remove 1 threat here. Almost gotten rid of that side scheme there. And we dealt ourselves an encounter card that turn already. Perfect. So we're at this point here again where we probably want to draw both of these cards. So we're going to pay with Pym Particles to overpay to play Resize. So we draw a card. We flip the giant form. These 2 shuffle. We draw 1 card from flipping a giant form. We've pinged him for 1. We might just kill him with pings here, which is pretty hysterical. We get +2 more bonus attack from giant strength. This goes to our discard. We did just shuffle our deck, so we get another nasty encounter card. And it just goes on and 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 on. So we are going to pay with Pym Particles for a Swarm Tactics. We don't draw from Pym Particles, but when we change forms, we ready and trigger Ant-Man's Helmet to draw a card. This becomes our new deck. This becomes our discard pile. We are dealt an encounter card. We are removing 1 more threat. All right, let's keep this party train going. We are going to overpay again for Resize. So we draw a card from our overpayment. We change forms to deal a damage. We draw a card from Resize. This becomes our deck. This goes to our discard, and we are dealt an encounter card. We went to giant form again, 21. We just played Swarm Tactics, so let's add 21 more to that. That's going to put it up to 90 damage this turn. Ant-Man has just taken out all 3 stages of Ultron with no concerns. And we've got, 14 more cards in the encounter deck to go. We'll have 15 when we get rid of this drone factory soon, so you can imagine for every 2 cards, you get 2 attack. So I'm just going to fast forward a little bit and assume I'm not using any more of those Swarm Tactics to swing in. But I could get up to 35 damage. If you want to fast forward to the end of the video, that's what you'll see. We'll act it out just to show you guys how it goes. We are going to resize to tiny form. That'll remove a threat. That will let us draw 2 cards, Helmet and Resize. This becomes our discard. That goes there. We deal ourselves an encounter card here. Everything's hunky-dory. We've got, what, one card here, so we can pay for Swarm Tactics with Pink Particles. So this is sitting on the table. We draw a card from that paying with it. These shuffle, and we are dealt a card. We change to Giant Form. We ready, and we do not draw a card from Swarm Tactics. So that's just going to go there, but we do get this plus attack. So now we're swinging for 23 more, so that's going to put us up to 113. Oh, this only goes to 99. That's lame. Hold on, let's be more logical about this. 113. So this should go to 14. Okay, I'm feeling good. Feeling good. All right, we are in Giant Form, and we just swung to do that. So let's make sure we exhaust ourselves because we're keeping track of these Swarm Tactics. We're going to resize, changing forms, removing another... Whoa, don't do that. Another threat from Drone Factory. That will let us draw 2 cards. One from Helmet, one from Resize. Bingo bango, we're still doing this nonsense here. And yeah, we are going to overpay for our resize. So remember that overpayment is key. If they ever change that or remove that from the rulings they've given us, that could change how this combo works, but I think it'll still exist unless they limit this to once per turn. At the same time, even if they did that, I mean, we're going to switch to Giant Form like 20 times. So it's a long sequence, but you can get 20 free damage in there. Why not? All right, so we overpaid for resize. So we draw a card. This instantly becomes shuffled, and we get dealt a counter card. We draw a card for our resize, and we go to Giant Form. So 2 more, oh, not 2 more life, 2 more attack. All right, what do we want to do here now? We want to do good things. We want to overpay for a Swarm Tactics. It's going to let us change forms. We draw a card from Helmet when we change forms, so we are dealt an encounter card here. Shuffle, 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 shuffle. We ready Ant-Man, which is really important, and then this goes here. All right, we remove a threat. That's important too. Down to 9 cards over here. We're really getting low. We are going to resize, and we're going to overpay for our resize. So we will draw a card from our overpayment. We will change forms. Oops, we will change forms and draw a card from the resize itself. We immediately replenish our deck, dealing ourselves an encounter card. We ping him for 1. Sometimes we remember that. Either way, we're getting our +2 attack. We've done a Swarm Tactics recently, so we can add 27 more. So that's going to go to 21, 41. Oh, wrong way. 99 plus 41 seems like it's 140. I can do that kind of math in my head sometimes. And we are in Giant Form. So we will play Resize. Let's flip to Tiny Form. Removing the last threat here. All right, that got dealt there. That feels really good. We will draw 2 cards. 1 for Helmet, 1 for Resize. This immediately becomes our deck. We put a card here. We put a card there. I probably missed a few of those, but you can see that there's a pattern and that it works, so it's pretty exciting. We're going to overpay for Swarm Tactics again. So we draw a card from our... Or I guess we're not overpaying for Swarm Tactics. We're just paying for Swarm Tactics. So we're dealt an encounter card. This guy gets shuffled. We draw a card. Oh, we already did draw our card. Sorry. We ready and flip, which is good because we get more attack. And we readied because of Swarm Tactics. So we can go swinging for 29 more. So that's going to be 168 for our damage this round, not including our ping damage. Just kind of bonkers. All right, let's resize. We're drawing 2 cards, 1 from Helmet, 1 from you-know-what. That's going to switch us to Tiny Form. We remove a threat. We are dealt an encounter card there. We are going to overpay for resize. So when we overpay, we draw a card. This goes here. We shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. We flip to Giant Form. We draw a card from Resize. Yoink. We get 2 more attack. We are not ready this time, though. So we will pay for Swarm Tactics outright this time. That is going to flip us to Tiny Form. We draw a card from Helmet. We shuffle. Oh, we don't shuffle yet. We draw a card from... Yeah, we do shuffle. So we drew a card from Helmet in the middle of this. We ready our hero. I don't know why I'm in that. I wanted to flip to that. Okay. And we readied because that one was a Swarm Tactics. We remove 1 threat from the scheme. we will play Resize, and we're going to overpay for it. So that way we get to draw 2 cards, one from Resize, one from our overpayment. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. I think we missed an encounter card last turn too, so I'm going to put 2 there. This is going to put us back into giant form. We're going to trigger giant strength twice. We are ready, so we can swing for 33 more. So that's going to put another 99 out there. So we'll just start doing this. 33 more. We'll add them all up at the end. This is fine. Everything is fine here. We've got 2 cards there, so we can resize to tiny form. We're going to end up dealing ourselves an encounter card and drawing these 2 cards. This becomes our deck. This goes there. We remove a threat. We got 2 cards left here, so we can afford to deck out 1 more time. So we can pay for Swarm Tactics, drawing a card, flipping, getting 2 more attack. This becomes our deck. This goes there. Bingo bango. This last card goes here. We get a second acceleration token for this turn. Now at this point, we can't afford to do any more decking out, so we can't draw any more cards. But there are still other things we could do to add more damage. So we've got our base 35, right? Let's use that, sure. We did just change forms 1 more time, so let's make it a 36. So we can do 36 more damage from an attack. Punch per punch. We've got 2 giant stomps we could play. Kind of crazy. Which would just do, right, 16 more damage, but this is all just from basic attacks. So let's add these numbers up here. We've got 99 plus 68 plus 33. Well, 66 plus 33 is another 99. So we've got 2 99s with 2 left over. Those 2 can obviously just add those up to 200. So we've got 236 damage with Ant-Man's basic attacks in this 1 turn against a 20 health Ultron. If we had gotten rid of these cards beforehand, we would have gotten 1 more flip back and forth, which is just, you know, okay. But it would have added a lot of attacks. So it's pretty crazy. It's not that crazy of a deck to actually set up. So I'm going to pull up the deck list here so you guys can see it. We can go over the deck, go over the cost curve, and then you guys can chat about it and see what improvements you would make to make it more viable. Ironically, with this sort of setup, you actually want to draw Shadows of the Past, because if you draw Shadows of the Past and shuffle 5 more cards in there, that's 5 more flips Ant-Man can do. In a 4-player game, if you shuffle 4 more sets of 5 cards, that's 20 more cards Ant-Man can burn through. That's like getting this up to 56, which is pretty bonkers. And what's really cool, this is the real trick of what you want to do here. Let's say we were playing some villain that had like infinite health, and the goal is to see how much damage you can do. When you're nearing the end of the game, you just do this with Ant-Man. I've got like 34 cards here. You'd have to leave enough cards here that everybody else that needs to get dealt 1 from decking out could do so. But what would happen here is if Ultron attacks me and kills me in the RRG under player elimination, all the cards that are face down in front of you, they don't get passed to the next player like minions. They just get discarded. So if you can find a way to sacrifice yourself at the end of this, all those encounter cards you dealt yourself don't even matter. So if we ever do get a villain that just has an astronomical amount of health, it's some giant group multiplayer event against, you know, Thanos, Ant-Man can go to town, and this is the way he does it. All right, here's the deck list that I just used. There's obviously lots of changes you can make. A lot of times I put some of these one-ofs in here just because I needed cards that were upgrades to get out of my deck. Like I said, your goal is to get down to 10 to 11 cards. You can see I had more than 10 to 11 in my game, right? I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Wow, that is crazy. 17 cards left in my deck. Is that right? Let's check this out. And a lot of that is because you can switch to that Ant-Man form to get to 7. I had 14 cards. I can almost do counting. Not always. 14 cards. That's because you can start and switch to that tiny form to start with 7 cards. You can strengthen numbers to get up to 13 right away, and then your first resize is going to replenish your whole deck. So you need to get through your whole deck and know where everything is so you can set up this combo wombo. I used 6 allies. I just used the cheapest Avenger allies I could, along with Wasp. So that's why I've got Wonder Man in here, Stinger, obviously, to get to 6, Squirrel Girl, Hawkeye, and Ant-Man. Just cheap, 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 cheap. I put 1 Moxie in there. I'm still working out the math to see if you could fit a Moxie into that algorithm or cycle you're going through. Because if you could, that would be pretty amazing, right? You could add an extra +1 until the end of the round, like every other flip or something like that. So gotta work out the math a little bit more for that one, but I think that there might be potential for it. I've got 2 copies of Strength and Numbers just so that I get it at the right time at the end of the deck, and 1 Swarm Tactics, essential. I've got Mansion, Tower, and Quinn Carrier. You could throw a Helicarrier in there as well. If you ever mess up the algorithm midstream, sometimes you need to like spend a resource on Swarm Tactics and you don't have one of those Pym Particles in your hand, so having a cost reducer or a generator isn't too bad. Originally I had 3 Quinjets in here just because they're cheap. I've slowly replaced those with Rapid Response and Inspired, and even after this one, I would probably take that out and put in another Inspired. Rapid Response is nice. Like, I had to throw a ally away earlier in this game. You really want to keep those allies out there so that you can use Strength and Numbers to like build up to this thinned deck. So every time you throw an ally away, it's really painful. I'd rather throw away a Rapid Response. So I think that's a good move. And then Inspired is just because once you get Ant-Man out there and you pump him with all those Honorary Avengers, you probably want to, you know, make him 3 thwart so you can really control the threat. You can see we spiked to 9 in Phase 2 of Ultron, but we never hit Phase 3, which is just amazing. So you can probably replace that Quinjet with an Inspired. Team Training obviously just gives you that like use for all those allies. That's what let us jump down to Alter Ego to set up our ending combo, was the allies thwarting for 9 or whatever it ended up being. Triskelion obviously needed to get to those 6 allies. I put 3 copies of Resourceful in there. I used a couple of them. They're mainly there just because they're cheap and they thin your deck. If you're doing this in a multiplayer setting, you could bring an extra downtime and endurance, but you need to get those cards out of your deck, right? So you can't get Fiddle Fart on them and leave them in your deck. Honorary Avenger, same thing. Pumping on Ant-Man, pumping on Wasp, whoever you want to be that person that's going to do that extra thwarting for you. I like to do it on Ant-Man just because it makes sense to me, or Wasp. You could do it on anybody that's out there when you need them to do that extra thwarting. So this is the deck. Cost curve is actually super cheap. There's a 4-cost card, there's 5 3-cost cards, and 7 2-cost cards. Everything else is 1 or less. So you just get those decks out. You're not running a bunch of enhanced resources to like be able to afford to do all this flipping, because you're using Pym Particles to do that and overpaying on Resize to sort of like seed your deck and make sure you never run out of cards in your deck, and that you can just go punch, 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 punch at the end of the game. So hope you guys enjoyed this. You should check out Beat the Game's video as well. He does a 30 damage attack with Ant-Man. His is a little bit riskier. He uses Lead from the Front, and he uses Adventures Assemble and Teamwork to set up Goliath to do this big 30-punch attack. A lot of that sometimes is going to rely on, you know, top decking the right card out of 3 to set up this combo. This one, once you get to those 3 cards in your deck, or you get to 1 card in your deck and everything in your hand, it's just like forgiven. Like you get to decide how the outcome of the game works as long as you don't mess up your little mechanics here at the end. And you're just gonna wombo combo up to there. It's a 39 damage attack right at the end of the game. So pretty cool. I love it. You can do that punch in either form. That's something I should mention that someone asked about before. I mean, yeah, you don't get that extra 2 damage from being in giant form, but it is also fun to do, you know, a 37 damage attack as a little Ant-Man. Doesn't hurt me too much. Seems kind of fun. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for checking it out.